In the headlines, 5 more victims of AK-9 Kaduna-Abuja train regain freedom on Tuesday. All Progressive Congress governors meet Tinubu in Lagos, set to name campaign council. NDLEA busts clandestine methamphetamine production lab in Lagos and Anambra. And on the foreign scene, China restricts trade with Taiwan amid tensions over Pelosi's visit. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. And now the details. 5 hostages who were taken on March 28 aboard an Abuja-Kaduna train have been freed by terrorists. It is, however, not clear if any money was paid to the terrorists to release their abducted victims. The security agencies and the federal government are yet to confirm the development, but a member of the negotiating team, Tukurmamu, told newsmen that the victims were released on Tuesday. He gave the names of the 5 released hostages as Professor Mustafa Umar Imam, who is a medical doctor at Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital, Sokoto, Akibu Lawal, Abubakar Ahmad Rufai, Mukhtar Shaibu, and Sidi Aminu Sharif.
There was barely food at that time, for people to eat. We were hungry for the last three and a half months. We were quite surprised in the last 2 weeks. They actually, they started bringing food stuff that we ate, and we were actually okay in the last 2 weeks. But then for the first 3.5 months, we were actually very, very, very hungry. And when I say very hungry, this is an understatement. There were days that we go, just eating once. We ate once on certain days. And just imagine there are children that are barely 1 year, a child that is barely 1 year old and a 90-year-old person feeding once a day. Just do the math, When you talk about medication, I literally was the medical doctor on camp. I was treating the captives as well as the bandits, or I would say Boko Haram members. There wasn't medication. To be very frank with you, we heard on the radio somebody was claiming that they would bring medication whenever it was needed. There wasn't any medication on camp. We could go days. There was a day that a particular lady who had malaria. So malaria, you could treat malaria with 1,000 naira. But this lady literally was going into coma because there wasn't medication for her. There wasn't medication for her malaria. So the situation is really, really terrible. Really, really. I personally did not experience any molestation, but then some women on camp would claim that there were attempts at molestation. But I personally did not experience this. And this happened in the first 1 to 2 weeks after we were held captive.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has said the challenges of insecurity across the globe cannot be contained by one single country. The president said this on Tuesday while receiving letters of credence from the Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ambassador James Kingston Christoph, and Ambassador of Mexico to Nigeria, Juan Alfred Miranda. Buhari, who hailed collective efforts of nations towards tackling security challenges across the globe and within Nigeria, called for more collaboration to check terrorism, banditry, and insecurity. In his remarks on behalf of the ambassadors, the Canadian High Commissioner thanked the President for the ceremony of accepting the letters of credence and assured that they will work closely with ministers and officials to start a progressive relationship.
Working with other member states of ECOWAS and other regional blocs to deal with the problems of terrorism, trans-border crimes, maritime crimes such as piracy and illegal fishing on our waters, illicit drug and human trafficking, banditry, as well as unconstitutional changes of government. I believe that matters of security have become the business of all nations, as these challenges go beyond the abilities of any single country to effectively contain. The world must therefore work closely together, and Nigeria counts on your support in cementing the relations between our countries at both bilateral and multilateral levels to surmount these global threats to civilization.
Still talking insecurity, in the past 7 years, kidnapped victims, especially in the insecurity-prone local government areas of Katsina State, have been forced to secure their freedom by paying ransoms. But the question many are not asking is, how does the payment of ransom affect the economic well-being of the victims? And most importantly, how has life been after the payment of the ransoms? Abdullahi Amadi meets some families who paid ransom to regain freedom from the hands of terrorists and asks how they are coping so far. His report.
Turaki and his wife are among hundreds of people abducted in Katsina State since the beginning of kidnap for ransom 7 years ago. The couple sorrowfully reveals how life has been after paying 11 million naira as ransom.
I have a fertilizer factory which I normally use to blend a fertilizer to my customers. So very unfortunate now when I experience this scenario, totally I don't have enough capital that I'm investing in this my business now. The numbers of my staff now, yes, I reduced them. I don't think now if I have more than 15 staff, but before I have more than 60 of them in numbers. But now my staffs are not up to 15.
Thousands of families were forced to pay ransom by kidnappers following abductions of their loved ones. These families who were economically buoyant have been impoverished as a result of the huge sums of money they paid as ransom to kidnappers.
We were not like this before. My husband was doing very well, both at home and in his business. But since the payment of ransom to kidnappers, things are no longer at ease. Things are no longer the same.
To these families, life is so difficult that they now live from hand to mouth to keep body and soul together, meaning that their means of livelihood has gone down to the extent that they can hardly sustain themselves and meet basic needs.
The only difference between us and those in IDP camps is that we live in our house. But I can tell you without any contradiction that I work very hard to strike a balance to earn a single meal in a day.
It is a known fact everywhere in Katsina that kidnap for ransom has rendered thousands of families poor and vulnerable. Many of the victims now beg for alms on streets of major towns across the state. Beyond that, hardship has forced many households to either compromise or abandon their responsibilities. And of course, many victims now reside in unofficial IDP camps scattered across Katsina State.
You see these children, they have stopped going to school, neither Islamic nor conventional school, because I can't afford it. My plan is to enroll them as artisan apprentices.
Thousands of these families are passionately begging for help, which is apparently not forthcoming, as several appeals have been made to that effect in the past, but failed on deaf ears. Abdullahi Ismail, Coast Television News, Katsina.
And still staying with Katsina, as incessant attacks and abductions for ransom continue to disrupt socio-economic lives of both urban and rural communities in Katsina State, terrorists who now move freely in all the communities across Katsina State hit Babaruga, Gwadamaikotso and Kore villages on Sunday night. The terrorists killed, abducted persons and rustled animals without any resistance from security operatives. Once again, Abdullahi Amadi visited the recently affected communities a few kilometers away from Katsina City and now reports.
This is the second time terrorists are attacking Babaruga village, which is just 3 kilometers from the ancient city of Katsina. And because of their siege, they killed 2 residents and rustled an unspecified number of animals. Residents say the terrorists, numbering about 30 armed with AK-47 rifles, arrived at the village around 2 a.m. on Sunday night and forced their way into the houses of their victims. Most of our families have fled this village since Monday morning to areas perceived to be safer in Katsina, and almost every one of us here passed the night either on rooftop or on top of trees. This resident, who narrowly escaped from the hands of his abductors, has a gory tales about the terrorists' inhuman behavior. My escape from the hands of terrorists is by the special grace of God. It is by Allah's intervention I escaped. We were about 11 abductees. They were pushing and beating mercilessly along footpaths in the bushes. It was dark at night and I tactfully withdrew. The sad thing is that residents claim that they put several distress calls through to security operatives, which were not responded to. After this attack, which they were left to their devices, residents say they are now living in fear of another attack. About 7 kilometers away from Babaruga on Katsina-Batsari Road, the terrorists attack at 2:45 a.m. on the same night, Kori and Kwarim villages. Already, we have been rendered poor. I don't know what else the terrorists want from us. We have lost everything to terrorism. We have sold everything we have for the payment of ransom. We are no longer participating in farming activities. We don't go to markets and have nothing to depend on. God have mercy on us. At these communities, the terrorists abducted 7 people and dispossessed the villagers of their money and valuables while roasting over 150 animals. Farmers had been sacked from their farms, prevented from attending markets and any other form of religious or social gathering by the terrorists who are in total control of their communities. People here have lost hope as they are left at the mercy of terrorists who determine who sees the next day and who doesn't. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And to politics now, where governors on the platform of the All Progressive Congress, APC, on Tuesday met the party's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in his Lagos residence. Appointment of Director General of the Tinubu Shettima campaign organization topped the agenda of the meeting. Names of former chairman of the party, Adams Oshomole, and Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai have featured as chairman and Director General. El-Rufai, who briefed newsmen after the meeting, confirmed that a decision has been taken on the DG, while other positions in the campaign council are still being discussed. The former Minister of the Federal Capital Territory said the governors were in Lagos to report on the assignment given to them by Tinubu and his running mate to begin a broad consultation and develop a structure for the Presidential Campaign Council. Other governors who attended the meeting were Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano, Atiku Bakudu of Kebbi, Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa, Bello Matawalli of Zamfara, and Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos. APC National Secretary Senator Iola Omishere, Adams Oshomole, and Kabiru Masari also attended the meeting. You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still to come, after the break, what gives you access to the reopened Millennium Park? Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now another look at our top stories. 5 more victims of AK9 Kaduna Abuja train regained their freedom on Tuesday. And All Progressive Congress governors meet Tinubu in Lagos, set to name campaign council. Now in other news, Nigerian students have been reacting to the extension of the strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, by another 4 weeks. Musa Luka reports that the extension is seen by some students as an act of insensitivity by the federal government and the union to the plight of students. The report.
News of the 4-week extension broke on Monday after 5 months of the action, which began on 14 February this year. President of the union, Emmanuel Oshodoke, who disclosed this via a statement on Monday, said the decision was to give the government enough time to resolve all outstanding issues with the lecturers. The prolonged strike has made some students look for part-time jobs as alternatives, while others remain idle. Some students residing within Abuja told Trust TV what they have been doing since the beginning of the strike.
Yeah, I'm currently doing video editing though, but that's not what I signed up for. It's due to this ASUU strike. I had to get into that. It's not fair.
This strike isn't really affecting me, but it's quite disturbing because I'm a final year student and just few signatures left and I should be a graduate, and I don't know why I should still be at home by this time doing nothing. Okay, apart from the work that I'm doing, if I don't have a job, what of others that don't have a job? What would they be doing in their houses? Like people like us that are final year students, what should we be doing? Just sitting down doing nothing.
Some parents lamented the impact of the strike on their budget and expressed the hope that the strike will be called off soon.
It affects us parents very much because by now my children are supposed to have graduated, but about 3 of them are still at home since two supposed to graduate last year, and due to all this incessant strike here and there of ASUU, and there is nothing we can do. We cannot fight government, but it's very unfortunate for what we are experiencing in our country.
The ASUU strike is affecting the whole region, precisely as in a taxi. Like my junior one in school, they have been abandoned in the village. They have been abandoned there. Nothing for them, no school, nothing. I mean, so it's also affecting us that sponsor them, believing that okay, with so time I think we might have done with this one, and then know 1 or 2 things to forge ahead with.
Many believe that the heightened insecurity in the country may not be unconnected to the strike, as the many idle hands of Nigerian youth may just have been employed, albeit negatively. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And to health matters now. The Gombe state government has confirmed 3 cases of monkeypox out of 19 suspected cases reported to the state's Ministry of Health. The Commissioner for Health, Habu Dahiru, disclosed this to newsmen on Tuesday. Dahiru said all 3 confirmed cases have since been treated and discharged from the hospital. So the ministry has activated an incident management system with full responsibilities for surveillance and effective response aimed at controlling the outbreak. He listed the symptoms as fever, headache, body pain, weakness, lymph node swelling, as well as body rashes that start from the face and subsequently spread to other parts of the body, including the palms and soles of the feet. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has busted and dismantled 2 major laboratories in Lagos and Anambra State, where crystal methamphetamine was produced for distribution across Nigeria and for export. Chairman, Chief Executive of NDLEA, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, disclosed this on Tuesday while addressing the media on the development. Trust TV's Mardia Omar has the report.
According to the chairman and chief executive of the NDLEA, Buba Marwa, the arrest followed complaints from several communities in the region due to devastating effects the distribution and abuse of dangerous stimulant drugs were having on their youths and others.
Predominantly in the southeast geopolitical zone of the country, many communities in the area had cried out for help because of the devastating effects the distribution and abuse of the dangerous stimulant drug was having on their youths and others.
The CEO said efforts in the past 7 months against the cartel behind the methamphetamine scourge has led to the arrest and exposure of syndicate operation of these drug dealers.
I am pleased to inform the public today that after months of painstaking intelligence gathering, diligent tracking and coordinated offensive action, we recorded a breakthrough on Saturday, July 30th, 2022, when officers and men of the agency successfully busted 2 methamphetamine manufacturing facilities called meth laboratories.
He also speaks on the devastating effect of these illicit drugs, as unsuspecting members of the public are mostly affected by the menace.
It's very important to note that the waste from methamphetamine production is dangerous to the ecosystem. The chemicals are toxic, and once they seep into the soil, they contaminate the water table from which surrounding wells and boreholes draw their water.
The NDLEA boss has said they will continue to deploy available assets to track down illicit drug barons and manufacturers. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Federal Capital Territory's foremost recreational spot, the Millennium Park, has reopened almost 2 years after the Mohammed Bello-led FCT administration shut down activities in order to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. To access the reopened park, fun lovers will have to present a COVID-19 vaccination card or take an on-the-spot COVID jab for those who are yet to be vaccinated. The report.
Established over 2 decades ago, Abuja's Millennium Park has been the go-to spot for outdoor fun seekers in the nation's capital. The park was, however, closed as part of efforts to contain the outbreak of COVID-19 in the FCT. Popular for cinematography, events, parties, among other social activities, the Millennium Park left operators and businesses linked to its operation counting losses due to its temporary closure.
Since then, we are in hardship. The park, this is where we earn our living as a photographer. At least when we come, we get home with small thing. But since the lockdown, over some years now, we are trying to survive, no way. But we thank God that the FCT minister came yesterday and opened the park. We pray God will give us our own.
It makes me makes me really happy, actually, and the kids, of course, too, because Abuja is not offering so much or so many places to spend vacation or have a nice afternoon. So therefore, we just heard about the announcement that it's reopened, and suddenly checked it out, and really happy that Natura opened it again. Yeah.
Although operations in the park have been restored and patronage gradually gaining boost, the quest to eradicate the spread of COVID-19 in a public place is still paramount for the FCT administration, as access requires compulsory vaccinations or presentation of vaccination cards.
And now for a look at the foreign scene, where China has restricted its trade with Taiwan amid elevated tensions over the United States House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the democratically ruled island. Chinese Commerce and Customs authorities said on Wednesday they had halted exports of sand, a key material used in construction, and imports of Taiwanese citrus fruit and some types of fish. China's General Administration of Customs said the food imports were halted due to the presence of pesticide and the coronavirus in some shipments, while the Ministry of Commerce said it has suspended sand exports in line with unspecified legal provisions. The announcements come as Pelosi conducts a high-profile visit to Taiwan, despite Beijing warning of serious consequences should the veteran Democratic politician make the trip. And with that, we wrap up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.